Welcome to another episode of Rectec Reels. I'm Henna McQuarrie, Commercial Success Manager here at Rectec. And joining me today is David from bobcheck, and we're going to be talking about data. So, David, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Thanks. I'm Dave. I'm the founder of bobcheck. We set up and launched in Feb 22 to automate the process to track and identify missed fees. It's a really, really simple product, but it's got some massively powerful outcomes. We've been a Rectec partner for a while and love the work you're doing.
Amazing. Perfect. Good stuff. So let's dive in. So, as an expert in this field, why, in your opinion, is it so important to look after the data that you have within the recruitment industry?
Yeah, I think on a number of levels, from just the basic weekly, monthly internal tracking of what the recruiters are doing to the yearly roundup of maybe where's the slippage of CV send to interview to placement, where could you loop back in your learning and development and training. But when I do demos for the Bob platform, we recently spoke to a listed FTSE 250 company who kind of admitted that they use their CRM platform as just a logging system. 12 o'clock on a Monday, they sent a CV, and then 12:05, funnily enough, there's a placement. So they know that the data that they've got on their system is a load of codswallop, to be honest. And I'm talking to them about adopting the platform to future-proof and look after their data, and they're like, it's just a load of rubbish. So they're aware that the adoption isn't very good. Learning and development are aware that they've got a job on their hands to actually make recruiters sit back, stop, and do an hour of admin. I think that's one of the biggest things that we see, is that they just know that the data on the system is just not great. And it's, I've been in recruitment 15 years. It's hard. I use HubSpot for running Bob. Have I logged everything on HubSpot? No, but it's one of those genuine problems that you've got to address.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so hard. And having been in the industry for as long as I have, I think I've met many recruiters that are really, really good at admin. So it's got to be one that we've got to look out for, because the data is so important. You can do so much with it if it's accurate.
Yeah, I think the accuracy is one thing, and then getting it on there in a timely manner, live, accurate data is the other thing.
Yeah, so many moving parts. Okay, so what do you see is as the biggest blocker for businesses achieving their desired growth?
So we talk to lots of companies who are going through that growth phase, and the ones that we see the most success are the ones that really take their data seriously. They know their averages, their numbers out, the CVs out the door, the forward forecasting, and without that accurate data, I just don't think the companies that are doing well take their data seriously. So how can you drill down on KPIs to a team that just are not using the platform? Selfishly, if you haven't added that data in, would bobcheck be able to track a CV that you sent 9 months later? No. So the ones that we see take their data seriously are the ones that have got really good growth. These smaller firms really take their data seriously. The larger massive firms do. It's those ones in between that we let slip through the gap. But I just think it's critical to get right from the word go to future proof.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you know what you need to work on if you're not looking at that real time in like accurate data? It's almost impossible to know what you need to do next to get better, isn't it?
It's hard. I think when I spoke to one of my old colleagues that I pitched Bob for, we went in really excited, really keen. They downloaded their data, and the MD didn't realize how terrible it was. And so if you then want to scale and grow and then at one point exit, then they're going to do a long draft list. You can automate most of this now. When was the last candidate spoken to? What are your ratios? What are your billings? And they go through the system. The other is we've known a couple of agencies who've used Rectec who have migrated from one platform to another, and the migration was seamless because the data was there. The data was good, and they know that they haven't lost any. So as a recruitment leader, I think we all know it's not the biggest head scratcher the last thing you want to do on a Friday afternoon is get your data in. But that's not just from a CV send and logging your interviews. It's data cleansing, using all the automation tools that are out there to understand, well, what have we got and is it any good?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I watched a talk at an expo once, and they were talking about when you're looking at things like data migration, without getting too much into that, they're talking about moving house. You don't just pack up every single thing that you own. You actually end up going through a lot of it and getting rid of some, donating some, and so on and so forth. And it's quite similar to going through your data. And it sounds like a laborious task, which of course it is. Nobody likes moving house, but actually, if you've got tools that will do that for you, it's a game changer.
Well, I think that's I think you accidentally lose a couple of boxes in house move purposefully of all the kids' toys and they've grown up too much.
Yeah, in my case, it's usually shoes. Okay, so final question I've got for you is, what advice would you give to somebody who is right now looking to future-proof their business, particularly focusing on the data aspect?
I think there's a lot of talk about, Rectec stack, or the tech stack, the amount of money that people are spending on platforms and tools. And I think the most CRM or ATS platform automates. So I think the earlier adoption of an automation system for candidate onboarding or candidate engagement, I think the better spend on automation to ensure that your data is accurate from day one, I think is probably as important or more important as just logging the CV send and getting the money in, because we need our bottom line up. I think a lot more investment firms and acquisitions are looking more at the data. What are you buying? Oh, we got 1 million people on the database. Well, that's great, but you haven't spoken to most of them, so this is irrelevant. I think the adoption of the automation is probably more important than people actually realize until they get too far down the road. But that's my little tidbit from all my demos and adoptions and migrations that we've worked with. That's what they can do.
Amazing, good stuff. And thanks so much for that advice as well. I think I think there's no right time for people, as people think, to get on this sort of thing, because they certainly think it's going to be a much longer task than they think. But actually, the sooner they get on top of this sort of thing, the better, and the more easy it's going to make their lives and help them grow as well. Okay, amazing. Dave, thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget, if you are in the market for a new ATS or recruitment CRM, then do take advantage of our unique fee-free comparison tool, Rectec Compare. And if you are looking to build out your tech stack with complementary tech, then be sure to check out our marketplace at rectec.io. Thanks so much for joining me today, Dave, and take care.
Thanks. Cheers.